Final match. This time Asuka using her main deck versus this same Narukami deck. Literally, he doesn't change throughout any of the games, but you can already see he doesn't need to. But still, um, it's gonna become obvious throughout the course of this match. But one of the lessons here is if you have a main deck and you're up against someone who's actually really powerful, use your main deck. Just use your main deck. Or more to say, this is the difference between using a main deck and using a deck you're effing around with. So right now, neither of them have a grade 3 in hand, but grade 3 takes a while to get to, so they can both draw one, in time. So right now, Asuka's gonna go first. Asuka has a grade 1 to ride. One thing about Pale Moons is that no matter what they ride, it can always come out of the soul, so you never have to worry about riding something you would rather have in rear guard. This is Silverthorn Assistant's Zelma, which is basically a Silverthorn exclusive version of Purple Trapezist. 7k and does Trapezist skill, except it only does it with Silverthorns. Rio rides Agatha, drive checks, and there. Apparently he doesn't want to use Agatha. Well, no, he didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice. Anyway, Asuka's using her grade Zero's ability. You put into the soul, check the top 5, and you can put a 1, a 2, and a 3 into the soul out of those 5. She got a 1 and a 2, Silverthorn Uproar Lion, which gains 3,000 every time a Silverthorn is called from the soul. So basically the same as Bruno, every time a Liberator comes from the deck, he gets power. That Uproar Lion does the same. So right now, she's just trying to do as much damage as possible early on. And she drove check grade 3 Lucriere, which is so good for her. Because if she hadn't done that, she would have run the risk of miswriting next turn. Speaking of running the risk of miswriting, Rio is still at that point. And he decides to rush just the same way that Asuka did. And he drove check his grade 3 as well. So they're in the exact same position. The only difference is Asuka has more hand, technically. Well, not technically, she does. I don't think she realizes that wasn't enough. That's 19 and 9. I don't know why Uproar Lion says 0 on there, but you can see on the card art it's a 9k unit. It's a 9k grade 2. And then 19 on the other rear. I think when Rio saw Venus Lucriere, he realized he didn't want to get her to 4 damage without thinking really hard about it. Because that's essentially what's happening here. So Twin Drive check gets a heal trigger and another heal trigger. Only one went off. But it was enough to do a damage. And it stopped him from getting the break ride, so his combo that he's done the last 2 games just got stopped right there. So this is 16. He can't use Linshu to retire this time, because, Asuka doesn't have field. Rio gets a heal trigger, and then Asuka gets a draw trigger. Trigger for trigger. And then this is going to be 19 to 16. She would only need a 5k guard, but she actually doesn't have 5k guard. Also, Asuka has this thing where she does not care about taking early damage. And it's because her deck is actually really has a lot of speed factors of this. She soul charged 2 triggers, which sucks. She would have double crit if she hadn't done that. which depending on how Rio guarded would have gotten him to 5 damage, but now she fills up her field. Now her field is full. The hand advantage is amazing, and she didn't have to use any hand to get this to happen. Oh, and she calls the Barking Dragon just to have a booster there. And for each one called, this unit gains 3k because they were all called at the same time. So it just gained 12k essentially. I think. Yeah, technically it gained 12k. I don't know why she gave it 9k. Because didn't she call 4 units with it? No, I can't tell. I saw her call 5, or at least I thought she called 5, but I guess she called 4. Well, anyway, Rio no guards and gets checked. And a grade 2 and grade 1 get checked. And because Anna is the one boosting Venus Luquier, every time it hits, she gets the ability to counterblast 1 and call a Silverthorn. And because Silverthorns have Zelma now, she can use that to do some special tricks. And she decides to use that to get a 10k and take out one of the Spark Rains, which means one less 12k attack she has to deal with. But you know, it's actually not a bad idea in the situation. She could have used it to get a Venus Lucriere out of the soul. She could have done that, but she was better off doing it the way she did. Because she wanted an intercept for next turn just in case, because, you know, she is at 4 damage. So at this point, technically, Asuka is ahead only because her hand is insane compared to Rio's. Gauntlet Buster's Counterblast. She gets rid of Barking Dragon. Honestly, I could actually say she might have played Barking Dragon just so it could be retired through that skill. Now she's got to pick another one. She's probably going to pick Lillian to die because out of her entire field, Lillian is the least important. Yep, Lillian dies. So now these are 13k. This is 17. One thing about Gauntlet Buster is that depending on the unit boosting it, it needs to retire to actually change the guard. If Lynch was boosting it, it needs 2 retires to change the guard. So the first thing he went for was Upright Lion, just to get rid of, you know, what she did before and make sure it doesn't happen again. And Gauntlet Buster has too many criticals to hit. Unlike before, she actually had a perfect guard to deal with it this time. And Rio double triggers, which actually takes him away from the 4 damage mark. And now their hands are looking a bit more even. What Rio wants to do now, number 1, is get rid of that lion, and number 2, he doesn't want to give Asuka 2 unflipped damage. Because he knows that when Asuka has 2 unflipped damage, a lot of things are going to happen. He doesn't want those things to happen. So right now, Asuka called 2 units to the front. At this point, what she wants to do is kind of transparent. First, she has Marichika attacking the other Spark Rain. She's trying to lower the attack power of his field as much as possible. Understanding that, he guards. Next, he attacks with the Vanguard. And he actually let it hit. That's actually kind of surprising. She gets a heal trigger, which means she can heal 1. And then a perfect guard in case he decides to do what he did last time. And then a 16k to the Vanguard. He has the guard and decides to use it. I was gonna say he doesn't have to guard. But if you have the guard and it's only one card, then you might as well use it. So with that card he just drew, here comes something that's interesting. He plays another Shuki. So now that's 3 Shukis on the field. And keep in mind, Rinshu is boosting Gauntlet Buster. He hasn't used that skill yet. He hasn't unflipped damage. He's attacking the Vanguard first. It doesn't take long for Asuka to realize that if he hits, he's not only going to kill this very important Anna right here, but by killing that very important Anna, these are going to be 3k each, making it 20k, and then this is going to be a 22k column. See, even here she says hell no because she doesn't want that happening. To be honest, she was better off just letting that hit, because if she had let it hit, it would have been 20k, which still is only a 10k guard as opposed to a 5k guard, and she has 10k guard. She has it. And then this would have been 22k, which for all intents and purposes she could have just let hit, unless a critical appeared, which it didn't. So, and now as a result of this, she doesn't have limit break, and because of her hand, she can't call more units to the field. Look at all these units she could call from the soul if she had let that attack hit and she had gotten limit break, but she didn't. So that was a really big mistake on Asuka's part, but it's just more the fact that she's playing way too cautiously compared to what her deck is doing. Because right now she has 3 cards in deck under Ryo. She can't afford to wait. And once again, I honestly feel like she should just let this hit. She shouldn't be guarding with this. She should be keeping it in hand to replace what he's gonna do. Honestly, she really should have let that hit. And now Ryo is thinking, should I let you get that other unflipped damage or not? He's trying to figure out how badly do I want to starve you of your limit break. And there we go. This is the game from here out. And Asuka realizes that he did that in order to stun him, in order to stun her ability to do anything. So she soul charged the original Luke Rier, which means she's at cross right now. That helps her guard a lot, actually. So she starts 7k to this. To be honest, because he got Rochushin in the twin drive, that was probably the worst thing she could have possibly done, was to attack that unit, because she can play this, and if he does, then the gambit that she was dealing with becomes a bigger threat, even though she's at cross ride, because it would turn what is a 15k column into a 23 column, which is bad. Anyway, Venus attacked. He's 2 passing. Now, what Asuka usually does is thin her deck to the point where she has mostly triggers in the deck. But look how many triggers are in her hand. And her drop zone also has 3 triggers as well. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that makes 10, 11. 11 triggers are out of the deck. She has 5 left out of 13 cards. And in the end, she says she doesn't want to win by luck. She doesn't want to give it to Vanguard and win by luck. It actually doesn't matter because she didn't get it anyway. So here comes the problem. Because Ryo plays that, and now the gambit that he was doing before became that much more threatening. He actually can't afford to let this hit anymore. because if he does, he has to deal with a 23k column. The 22k doesn't mean anything because cross ride, but this is 23, and she would have to drop more guard for it. So she guards with 2 to pass because she only needs 10k. Thank you, cross ride. And he gets a critical trigger. He gives it all to Spark Rain, and is having Spark Rain attack. Asaka should take the damage. She should take the damage. But she doesn't want to because she realizes her deck is close to being out. She's too close to decking out to take the damage. So he attacks the rear and ends the turn with that. So right now Asuka is just saying F the limit break because it's obvious that it's not going to happen. And it's just attacking with everything she's got. It's really all she can afford to do. She's keeping enough shield in hand to block anything. And unfortunately, she put herself in a situation where even though she's at 3 damage, she has to kind of block everything that comes up from here out. She gets a draw trigger in the twin drive. And now she's trying to kill Rochishi so that she can try to eliminate the Gambit. And then decides to 21k the Vanguard. She really should have used that 21 to try to kill Rokishi or Rochishi or whatever you call it, because she shouldn't be trying to worry about doing damage anymore. Well, right now she's using Marichika's skill, gets out Zelma, uses Zelma to get another Rochishi, and now she should attack the rear. And she does. But he can guard now as opposed to the last one. If she had attacked that with the trigger empowered one, it would have been a 15k block. He probably would have done it, but it would have given up more hand than what happened just now. Ryo's at 5 damage, but because of the difference in... because of everything that's going on, it doesn't matter at this point. The way things are now, all Ryo has to do is run down the clock. Until she decks out. And now he retires one. So the gambit that she was trying to avoid is happening anyway. And now this has 2 critical. By the way, this gains 8k every time. So right now it's 23. It'll be 31 if she lets this unit hit, even, which is another reason why she shouldn't. So she 2 passes it. This match is by far the longest one of the 3, because the other 2 didn't even go 10 minutes, and this one is already hitting the 1850 mark. So that's 23k to the Vanguard. Even if she lets it hit, she won't actually get limit break, and that's why Ryo is even attacking. She can't afford to let it hit for other reasons, but she doesn't have much choice, so she does it anyway. The other reasons I was talking about before is if she couldn't afford to let it hit because she really needs to watch how many cards are left in deck now. So she plays Upright Lion and Anna. And he's going for that unit again. She actually doesn't have to care anymore. He can't counterblast. Twin Drive, draw trigger. Those are actually killing her now because her deck is so low. 3 cards left in deck. This is where things get interesting. Actually, not so much interesting. It's kind of already over. Because if Rio draws and ends his turn, she's gonna draw, have two in hand, and he would have enough to block her rears no matter what she did. Because he has a perfect guard and he'd have enough hand otherwise. All he technically needed to do was draw, attack with Vanguard to get Twin Drive, and end turn. And he'd win. Especially because he gets a critical and a heal. You know, extra 10k shields. So that's 29 with critical. She guards it because she'd hit 6 and lose otherwise. And the final attack goes to the upright lion. Because if he went for the Vanguard, she'd let it hit. She'd have 2 on flip damage. She'd limit break just to do as much soul swapping as possible and make this as difficult to guard as she possibly could. And he has no reason to give her that chance. The nicest way I can say what happened here is that Asuka lost the match the moment that he did the 2 Shiki column with the Shiki and Spark Rain, and she didn't let it hit. If she had let it hit, then she would have lost a unit that she could have replaced based on what was in her hand. The 20k that came from the 2 Shikis wouldn't have meant anything because it would only take a 10k guard. And the 22k column is either something she could let hit or just deal with. Right now she's putting poison jugglers into the soul to try to get as much power onto her units as possible. She gets Anna in. She puts Anna into the soul. She's thinking of what to take out. Out of all of her options, the only thing she even could take out that would mean anything is Anna, because she can't take out Zellman. There'd be no point in taking out Emil. Oh, she tries to take out Poison Juggler, but she can't do that actually. She can't do that because you have to take out a Silverthorn. And Rio says it right there. It has to be Silverthorn only. So she puts it back. The best thing she can really do is take Anna out, because she can't take out Zellman. Emil has no point, and nothing else here can boost or be taken out. So she takes out Anna. It technically doesn't matter because if she attacks with the Vanguard, she loses anyway. That's attacking for 22 because she gave the 3k from Poison Juggler. I think she did it twice, in fact. Yeah, she did it twice. First check is a draw trigger. He got the heal, so he didn't need to guard that. The only way she could win is if somehow... Well, wait, here we go. I'm going to use Marichika's ability. Get out Zelma. Put Marichika in. And she could take out whatever she wants. I would take out Venus Lucriere. I mean, technically it doesn't matter because it doesn't change the guard, but I would just take out Venus Lucriere. Because it's between Venus Lucriere, normal Lucriere, and Marichika. Given her situation, it technically doesn't matter. And she realized that and just decided normal Lucriere. It doesn't matter, this is over anyway. 5k to block. And this actually gained more power because of the 2 Silverthorns that came out of the... Yeah, so it's 25. Almost enough to force more guard, but it only takes a 10k. So that ends it because she can't twin drive. Even if she ended her turn, it would mean she wouldn't have enough to block. So she just attacked and killed herself. And that's good game. Good game, good match, guys. Ryo wins in the end. And those are his last 4 cards. No triggers. Oh, wait, more than 4. I'm sorry. Area glitch, area glitches. Anyway, those were the last cards in his deck. Good games, guys. And I hope all of you learn from these matches.